What's up, YouTube? It's Portia Renee, and I'm back with another video. By that title and by that thumbnail, y'all can see that this will be a story time on the first time that I got arrested. Make sure y'all like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on your post notification bells so you get notified every time I post. Let's jump right into it. So when I was in the 7th grade, and I used to work at this hair salon. I was not doing hair, but I would go early in the morning on Saturdays and get done like Saturday evening about 6, 7 o'clock. I would help the lady that owned the shop clean up after doing a client's hair. I would wash clients' hair here and there. And when the day was over, when the lady that owned the salon was done with all her clients, she would do my hair for free and pay me for, helping her out throughout the day or whatever. So this particular Saturday, she got done with everybody. She did my hair and she gave me $300. Now, I don't know about y'all, but back then, being in the 7th grade and you got $300, that's a lot of money. So my grandma come and pick me up and we go to Belk. Now this is during the Christmas holidays. So we get to Belk, and I didn't have my own cell phone back then in 7th grade. So when we got in there, I asked my grandma, could I use her phone? So she gave me her phone, and she went on about her way, shopping, looking for whatever it is that she was getting. I was on the phone, walking around with my best friend, just talking on the phone to her, walking around or whatever. So I decided that I wanted me and my best friend to have matching necklaces for Christmas or whatever. So mind you, now I got $300 in my pocket. I go to the jewelry section in Belk and I find the 2 necklaces that I want. I get them and walk over to the shoe section. I take them out of the boxes, throw the boxes behind some shoes, and put the necklaces in my pocket. Now, the escalator wasn't even a 2-minute walk from the shoe section. So after I put the necklaces in my pocket, I'm headed to the escalator to go upstairs to find my grandma. When I get to the top, these 2 people, it was a man and a lady, that stopped me, and they was like, "Man, we're gonna need you to come with us." And I'm like, "For what?" And they was like, "You need to get off the phone." And I was like, "What I need to get off the phone for?" And they was like, "Ma'am, please hang up the phone." So I told my best friend bye, and they told me that they needed to speak with me about some unpaid merchandise that I had. So they told me to follow them or whatever. So I'm walking with them, and they asked me who I was in there with, and I was like, "I'm with my grandma." And we make it into this room where it's all the monitors, like for the cameras or whatever. And they asked me what my grandma was wearing, but I don't think I remembered because they ended up telling me to find my grandma on the cameras. So after I found my grandma, they said that they was finna go down and get my grandma or whatever. And I was like, can I just get y'all the necklaces back and y'all let me go? And they told me no. So they sent me in this other room that's inside the room where the cameras are. So it's like you go in the first door and you see all the monitors and stuff that the camera's connected to. And then you go through another door and it's like a little office. It's like just a table and a chair in there. So I'm sitting there with this lady, and she asked me a bunch of questions. I think it was just like my name and birthday and stuff like that. I don't remember. But by this time, I'm like boohoo crying because I'm scared. Like, am I finna go to jail? Like, I know my grandma finna kill me. Like, I'm scared. So finally, I hear my grandma come in, and she came in the room where I was, and she just started going off like, "Why are you in here stealing? You ain't gotta steal. um you just made money from working today. Why not just pay for whatever it is that you wanted?" And blah 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 blah, like just going in. So the lady had told me to take the necklaces out of my pocket. I took them out and handed them to her. So at this point, I'm thinking like, okay, I gave her the necklaces back. They didn't call my grandma. You know, finna just go. Like, I'm finna be able to just go with my grandma. No, these folks called Hoover, and they told my grandma that I was going to jail, and my grandma was in there crying that bad. Like, she was begging them folks not to take me and all of that. And they just kept saying no, that they had to because I stole it. Which, looking back now, I don't understand, because technically I didn't really even steal it because I didn't make it out of the store. Like, whatever. But so, Hoover came in or whatever, and they put me in handcuffs and was taking me out the door. But they didn't take me out the front door in front of everybody. It was some like back way or whatever. And they put me in the back of the car. And while we was in the car, I'm literally boo-hoo crying, like snot just everywhere, tears everywhere, probably spit. I don't know. I was in there crying like somebody had just died. So, the police officer up there talking to me, basically just giving me like, the whole wise talk of making better choices, and I don't want my life to turn out like this or like that, and blah blah blah. So we get to the police station and we go in, and my grandma meet us there. So we go in, and it's just like in this waiting area where like it's like a bunch of chairs or whatever, and they fingerprint me. Now, I do not remember them taking my picture at all. I don't think they took my picture, which looking back now, they probably didn't or couldn't because I was a minor. I don't really know, but I know they didn't take my picture. Only thing I remember them doing is taking the cuffs off and me standing in front of this machine, putting my finger on the little black stuff, and then they was putting it on there and then putting it on the paper or whatever, on a little fingerprint card. So, by the time I was done with that, my grandma was in there. And like mind you now, like I said, I never went in a holding cell. I never went to the back. I never changed my clothes, nothing. Like I literally went in, got my fingerprints done. They was giving me this whole spiel about stealing, and the choices you make will follow you until you're an adult, and blah, 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 all of that stuff. So when my grandma got there, and they told me that I could go with my grandma, and that I would receive something in the mail about my court date or whatever. And he was like, I'll probably get probation or have to do community service or whatever. And he told me that he hoped that my fingerprint card collect dust, as in I never, get in trouble again or have to be fingerprinted again and blah, 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 whatever. So me and my grandma leave, and of course I got cussed out from A to Z, all the way from Hoover to Pleasant Grove. My grandma did not stop cussing me out until we got home. And even when we got home, I was still getting fussed at. And I was supposed to be dancing in a Christmas parade that next morning, and she had told me that I couldn't dance. But I got up bright and early the next morning begging and pleading to go and dance. And she let me go dance, but that was the last time that I had danced with that particular team that I was on or whatever. He told me after that I was done. That was gonna be the last thing I did, and she stuck to her word because she definitely pulled me after that. But yeah, I was at the mailbox every single day waiting on a letter about when I was supposed to go to court, because I was so anxious to find out like what the judge was gonna do with me. Excuse me. I was so anxious to find out like if I was gonna get probation, if I was gonna have community service, if I was going to juvenile. Like I didn't know. Like I was only in the 7th grade. I didn't know nothing about the law. Like I was just scared and ready to see what was gonna happen or whatever. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, months and months and months went by. Like it's a whole new year, because mind you, this was during the Christmas season. So we didn't made it all the way into a whole new year, and I still hadn't received nothing in the mail. Why one day my grandma finally tell me that when the police officer took me out at Belk, the police officer that was still inside had a conversation with my grandma and the asset protection people about doing this whole scare tactic of taking me on down to the jail, fingerprint me, making me feel like I'm finna get booked in and gotta stay there, telling me that I was gonna get something in the mail and probably get probation or community service. Like the whole thing was a lie. But it worked, because baby, you couldn't pay me to go on nobody and stuff, put my hands on their stuff. Like, that was the scariest time of my life that I have ever experienced. Like, I don't ever want to have to go through that again. Like, I definitely learned my lesson. And it was like, I was just being young and dumb, y'all. Because, like I said, I had $300 in my pocket. I had enough money to pay for both of those necklaces and have money left over in my pocket. But being young and dumb, I guess, or trying to be cool, or not wanting to spend my money at all, I decided to steal. And yeah. But disclaimer, I do not have a record. I've never been to jail. No misdemeanors, no felonies, none of that. Clean slate. So I'm glad they just used it as a scare tactic, because it helped. It really did. But y'all let me know what type of videos y'all want to see next. I got a Q&A coming up and a few pranks. Make sure y'all like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on your post notification bells. And until next time, I am out.